We've talked about Disney burying this, the Sound of Freedom back when they purchased 20th Century Fox. We've talked about all issues regarding the film, whether we're talking about the fact that the AC was out, whether we're talking about backlash from people who are saying that it's a QAnon conspiracy theory movie, and all the crap that we read from awful would-be so-called journalists over the last week. Well, now we've got Sound of Freedom viewers saying that they were forced to evacuate the theaters because of fire alarms and other such things. And the CEO of AMC has also come out, and it's actually gotten so big now that he's been forced to comment on this on Twitter.
Yeah, the weirdest one, there have been a few TikToks talking about like the weird circumstances in which people are kind of getting cheated out of watching this movie. The weirdest one to me was the girl who said she was refunded her tickets and she went anyway. And they said that the AC was out only in the theater that Sound of Freedom was showing.
Mm-hmm. And now, oh, by the way, I was wrong the other day when I said like when you said that the marketing budget was so low that they had like tiny pictures of it or like bad quality photos.
Yeah.
It was like a blurry image. Maybe my vision is just so bad now that I just didn't notice.
I thought that was because of their low marketing budget.
It must have been, because when we went to see Mission Impossible last night, I walked by Sound of Freedom and the photo was, you could barely read the words on there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So let's watch this this first one here. I'm going to refresh it. Oh, it's going to probably do the thing where it opens on the website. Hold on. No, here we go.
All over TikTok that people are going to watch the movie The Sound of Freedom, and these weird things are happening, like random emergency evacuations, the air conditioning not working and having to leave the theater. And I thought, no, that's probably just something that's happening in other theaters and other places. So I took me and my daughters to go watch The Sound of Freedom today, and about an hour and 20 minutes into the movie, we get a random emergency evacuation. None of the staff knows what's going on. The mall wasn't being evacuated, just the theater. All they did was refund us our money with no explanation. But I guess you can call me a conspiracy theorist.
Okay, there was also this one.
That one is less sus just because if all of the theaters were getting evacuated, then it was probably not to do with the movie itself.
Yes.
But,
there's this guy here. Let's
it was
if I can refresh this one, start it from scratch.
To go see The Sound of Freedom in theaters on the 4th of July. And we've been to this theater many times. It's always been a pretty good experience. This particular time was really uncomfortable to sit through. There was no AC running. It was unbearably hot. So I go out and I ask if they can turn the AC on, and they told me that it wasn't working. Okay. I bought these tickets online. It showed that the theater was pretty much sold out. There was only a few seats available. When we get there, it's just me, my girlfriend, and maybe 8 other people in the whole theater. I didn't think anything of this until I got on TikTok a few days later, and come to find out that hundreds of other people are experiencing the same thing. So AMC and Regal, the people who own it, are not running AC, and they're making it hard to get tickets. And that should make you want to go see this movie even more.
This guy gets a little bit over the top by the end.
Yeah, he started talking about adrenochrome as well.
He's kind of the perfect example of what I explained. Like you can't just shove that in there, no lube, dude. You have to actually lean in. You have to go.
That very tasteful metaphor, Brett.
Sorry, but like you say this to an average person, and they're just like, Like the funnier story here is if the Sound of Freedom people are the ones sabotaging it to grow the legend of this product being sabotaged.
Well, the evacuation story is what I said would happen if there were people like banding together to sabotage it, just trip the fire alarms.
Yeah. And here is what Adam Aaron he's the CEO of AMC Theaters says. He says, really bizarre. What is FUD?
I don't know.
I don't. Somebody in the chat, does anybody know what FUD stands for? Really bizarre FUD floating around Twitter that we are suppressing attendance for Sound of Freedom. Yesterday, we showed that movie 3,000 times at our 570 U.S. theaters, and more than 100,000 people watched it.
It's fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Okay.
A propaganda tactic used in sales and marketing.
Okay, perfect. Misinformation on Twitter is astonishing. Bots? Haters? But then if you go here to this other article from Bounding Into Comics, they have further words from him down here.
Oh, and there's also another TikTok of another woman who said that her showing was sabotaged in the Bounding Into Comics article, if you want to show that one.
Yeah, I'm going to read the rest of what he says here. He says, let's put this ridiculous conspiracy theory to bed. Friday and Saturday, more than 250,000 people watched Sound of Freedom at AMC in the U.S. Angel Studios head of distribution, quote, no other theater chain in the world has shown more support for Sound of Freedom in Angel Studios than AMC.
And then the co-founder of Angel Studios and the CEO,
Jeffrey Harmon,
both responded, and they said that's true.
Yes. They said, we are so grateful that you stepped up to support this film. Thank you for your partnership. And then here, Jeffrey Harmon says, Adam, I'm a co-founder at Angel Studios, and I want to personally thank you for how amazing of a partner you've been. Many of your managers have reached out to me and personally told me they love what is happening and have worked so hard to bring a great experience to Sound of Freedom fans. Then somebody else pointed out, like where they basically said, YouTuber Coach's Archive responded to Aaron's comment saying, the only thing that he has tweeted about Sound of Freedom is the response to the suppressing and the apparent sabotage. All of the stories that so many people have shared, there's only one thing that he has done. That's the only thing that he's done. And he actually questions whether we are bots or haters. You've got to be kidding me. He mentions that he's praised all the other movies that have been #1 lately, except for Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you can really fault the guy for not saying the right thing about something there. I don't know if that's a fair critique. I do think that it's that calling it bots and haters is a little bit
like
stupid.
there are people who the people talking about this are not haters of the movie. They're the ones who want to see it the most.
Well, he's saying that they're haters of AMC and thinking they're part of the Matrix with Andrew Tate, and they're looking to suppress it.
I wanted to show this other video though.
That's this one right here. Okay, here we go.
How many people?
Oh, that's the part 2 of her story. It's about that one.
So, don't know if any one of you have already been to see The Sound of Freedom, but my friends and I just walked out. Hi. And we are curious what your experiences were in the movie theater, because we pre-ordered our tickets, paid for them, they were claimed, got the link sent, and this is an AMC theater in Pineville, North Carolina. Some point today, the tickets got refunded to my friend and we couldn't figure out why. So we come anyways to the theater after dinner and they're like, oh, well, we refunded all the tickets because there's no air conditioning in our theaters. Okay, whatever, we don't care. Are you still showing it? Yeah, you can still watch it. So we get to thinking, why did they not send out a notice in the email saying, hey, we refunded your tickets because there's no air conditioning? And we just are curious why didn't they let us know? There was no one in that theater. There was us 4 and 4 other people, 8 people in the theater on a Friday night. There was air conditioning in the lobby. There was air conditioning.
Am I missing something? It doesn't sound like the right argument. Like, if they wouldn't, the way to keep people from seeing it to tell them that the air conditioning was out and that they've refunded their tickets. Her argument doesn't make sense to me.
With the evacuation story and the other guy's AC story, they weren't refunded. So that means that Angel Studios is still getting the proceeds from those tickets that were bought that weren't refunded, which means if you're to believe that these things are intentional sabotage, you need to believe it's simply so that less people will watch the movie and like get the message from it. And I just think that's a lot to buy.
I have a hard time. But there's a fair argument that could be made that, like, look, I guess if there's like
if Angel Studios is still making the money off of
it, if Antifa Annie is popping popcorn at the local AMC's Antifa Annie is popping popcorn there and just decided to stick it to the religious man by stopping people from seeing Sound of Freedom. I did see other reports from other people, although anecdotally telling me that they had problems at their movies that were not this film. It is July. It is extremely hot out.
But it is weird that AC would only be out in the one theater that
Yes.
was showing Sound of Freedom, and the rest of the building has it working. That's weird, right?
The funnier story is that they're like, after they found out, like they're like, no, we had scheduled maintenance on on the air conditioning on that unit.
Yeah.
Sorry, the HVAC guy has been supposed to be there for weeks.
The HVAC guy is actually an Antifa mercenary.
HVAC Antifa, yeah, Antifa HVAC guy is out there to stop them from going there. Here, let's finish what she said.
In the hallways, there was air conditioning in the bathrooms, not the theaters. They don't have the bartender or anything in the theater. I smell something stinky, and I think it's shit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the story is more interesting about the fire alarm getting pulled and the evacuation.
Yeah,
that one I buy more.
If there are any evacuations or random incidents where the AC is breaking down at showings of Barbie, though, you're going to see me making these TikToks. And
She's like, it's a conspiracy.
Yeah, I'm like, this is a conspiracy.
The G.I. Joe industrial complex.
To stop women from seeing the movies they like.
They want you, they no longer want you barefoot, naked, and pregnant in the kitchen. What they want is you watching action movies, watching things you aren't interested in so that you can be miserable.
It is true they do want women to go like see the Marvels or some stupid action movie like that, which they're not interested in. Yeah. But yeah, you're gonna be seeing me making conspiracy theorist videos about Barbie if this gets sabotaged too.
It's very likely, it could very well end up being true. I just am not sure that I buy it. I just am not sure that I buy it. Also, Jewel, if anybody here is as old as my ancient ass remembers Jewel from the 90s, the singer, she saw Sound of Freedom. She had friends that worked on Sound of Freedom, and she's very angry at people for politicizing this movie. I believe there was another story about her, like we covered something in the winter where she got divorced and was upset about that. But let's listen to what she has to say about it.
You guys, I just saw The Sound of Freedom. You have to see it. I'm so verklempt. Some friends of mine made
Did she look it up that day? She's like, I got to use this in a sentence today.
this movie, and it's been years of it being in production. It's the most inspiring film. Did you know that there are millions of children in slavery? This is the fastest growing criminal enterprise. And the amount of children enslaved right now is greater than all 300 years of the transatlantic slave trade. What the actual F? This is a true story about a man who just doesn't give up on a child. It is so touching. You're gonna love it. Please go see it. This is a little indie movie it's competing with all of the giant blockbusters, and it's kicking butt, and it deserves it.
Kicking butt.
Go see this to have your heart filled. Love you guys. Take care of your babies.
She hasn't aged a day, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at
Love
pictures,
her sincerity.
If you look at pictures of her from the 90s, she ain't aged a day.
Also, I wanted to show this clip from CNN where they're talking about how this is actually a QAnon movie. Prepare yourself to get angry.
Here we go.
Seem pretty familiar with him because he doesn't really hide his association with this real wild plot that involves, drinking the blood of children and things like that.
No, he doesn't hide it at all. And you have a lot of people who are in this world of QAnon who say, oh, they don't know what that is. They've never heard of it. They're just asking questions. With somebody like Jim Caviezel, he is openly embracing it. He's openly using its catchphrases and its concepts. He's speaking at QAnon conventions. And this film is being marketed to either specific QAnon believers or to people who believe
if I remember correctly, Jim Caviezel spoke at something. It was like the Faith, Family, and Freedom Convention. And it was labeled, maybe somebody in the chat can remember what this was.
Doesn't sound like a QAnon convention to me.
I remember there was something where then the actor, wasn't Kevin Alejandro. It was another actor that had worked with him before. Basically, like found out about it and was like, "What happened, Jim? You've changed. My goodness!" And it was maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Okay. And like I said, Caviezel could do a little bit better about where he starts the adrenochrome discussion with the interviewers, because it's not always easy to just drop that in there right there. You got to find a way to fit it into the conversation.
Maybe if you go on Joe Rogan,
it's a second date conversation. That's all I'm saying. It's
your second date with Joe Rogan. You can start talking about adrenochrome.
please tell me it was actually called Q-apalooza, because if it was called Q-apalooza, sign me up. Q-Fest 2023, was that? If these are actual things,
Q-Chella.
Q-Chella, sign me up.
The same tenets as QAnon, but claim they don't know what it is.
And The Sound of Freedom does focus on a real issue of sex trafficking. But that theme, it's sort of like that kernel of truth that feeds the QAnon conspiracy theory. Tell us how those two things work together.
Sure, and the most durable and the most believable conspiracy theories are not entirely false. There's something in them that is true, and the rest of it is false. But the believers point to the one true thing, and they say, oh, you don't believe that this particular thing is true. In terms of child trafficking, we know trafficking is real. We know it has real victims. No one is denying that. But
by the way, host of the Rise of QAnon podcast speaking right now.
These films are created out of moral panics. They're created out of bogus statistics. They're created out of fear. And with something like Sound of Freedom, it specifically is looking at QAnon concepts of these child trafficking rings that are run by the high-level elites.
Boogeyman.
And only people like Tim Ballard and only people like Jim Caviezel, and by extension, only people like the ticket buyer can help bring these trafficking rings down. So there's a very participatory element. You're not just going to see a movie, you're just killing 2 hours on a hot day. You are helping bring down these pedophile rings and save children. Now, it's not true, but it's a very comforting and it's a very warm feeling to
Nobody
have.
who's going to see Sound of Freedom thinks that by buying a ticket, they single-handedly are helping stop child trafficking. I'm sorry, what?
Where is the Jizz Rag Maxwell client list? Like, this isn't a conspiracy, and it's got nothing to do with what this movie is about. The movie has nothing to do with that. It's based on a true story, you scumbag.
Jizz
Like,
Rag Maxwell.
that's the movie has none of that. Everything he just described there has nothing to do with this movie. The movie doesn't talk about any of that. It's a true story with some hyperbole added for dramatic effect, but they show the actual footage of the raids in the movie, you scumbag, who is lying about this. I hate these people.
Decoy Voice responded to that, and he said, well, now I have to go see it, lol.
The quote, no matter how much you think you hate journalists in the media, you do not hate them enough. Yeah. That is, no truer words can be spoken. It's evil.
Even
They're evil.
Jonah Hill agrees. The media is trash.
Like he said it himself. He said they ruined his life. Right? Look, they still like they refuse to admit it. Right? Sorry, Ghislaine Maxwell. That's her name. Right? She's in jail for trafficking nothing to nobody. Because yeah, right? There's documentaries about her up on Hulu and other streaming services. Always really funny, like pictures of her and Epstein. They always use the photos of them with Trump, like in the covers of the things, because they want to paint the narrative a certain way, right? These people are evil. They're evil. They're scumbags.
Anyone can take a picture with anyone.
They're evil. They're scumbags. They notice how they also wouldn't even call it child trafficking. They just called it sex trafficking because they're probably happy it's happening because they're evil.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but they're definitely, for some reason, they have a vested interest in making people think that this isn't a real issue and that it's a conspiracy. And I just wonder, like, who is interested in peddling that narrative. Ryan just sent a super chat. I bought a ticket to Inconvenient Truth. Does that mean I stopped climate change?
Yes, you stopped it.
You single-handedly turned back the thermometers and you helped those polar bears.
It's also, I love the idea, the absolute absurdity of Hollywood talking about moral panics is one of the funniest things I've seen in my entire life. They are all about the white supremacy moral panic of 2023, where everything is white supremacy.
I mean, even the moral panic over what Barbie represents is tantalizing to them. They're obsessed with doing moral panics.
I'm just, they're just awful people. And as far as I'm concerned, the world would be better off not watching these people at all. Unfortunately, part of the job requires us to watch these clips and then me get angry and frustrated, as I tend to do. This is the only thing, like, people, what I've realized is, like, everybody that I work with has a vast, expansive view of different things that they don't always agree on everything. But I think everyone here can agree that the media is evil. The mainstream media is evil, and they will gladly throw away the lives of children to sex traffickers if it means they get to stick it to the conservatives and pluck the QAnon people on the nose. I'm not a QAnon person. I went to this movie. The 80-year-old lady in her walker was certainly probably not a QAnon person. I don't think any of the old people at the movie theater that I went to see this movie with, like any of the old people that were there, I don't think any of them would even know what the hell you were talking about if you mentioned it, you freaking scumbags. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.